Jerry.
In the front of the little booklet they gave us earlier on, there was a little bit in italics on the frontispiece. On thy belly shalt thou go.
That's right.
Which was from the Bible somewhere.
You have to roam all around these fields above here and come on top of the hills and around the back to make little mock attacks, one thing and another. But we used to do a lot of our crawling round, creeping in. Oh, that's all we used to spend our time doing. We were really getting down in the undergrowth. And
there weren't so many nettles about then, either.
There were many patrols based in Wales, 8 of which were in the Monmouthshire region. Each patrol had a biblical name: Isaac, Esau, Moses, Abraham, Lucifer and Jonah Patrol. Each cell worked individually from any other cell, and they had a work radius of about 15 miles. We're coming up now to the operational base that belonged to Jonah Patrol. It was actually known as OB, which was an abbreviation. This is where they would have been stationed had the balloon gone up and they'd gone into active operations. There's actually a ventilation shaft built in the base of that tree trunk there, which is quite ingenious because it takes air into the main chamber. These structures were built by the Royal Engineers, or sappers as they were known. They didn't know what they were building. They were usually drafted from outside of the area, sometimes as far away as Scotland. And when the main construction was completed, it was up to the patrol themselves to put the earth on the top and camouflage it as best they could. The hatch here was quite ingenious. It was a soil-filled trough that had a cantilever system. It opened up in the middle, just wide enough for a man to drop down onto the iron ladder that was at one time situated on that wall. And it was full of foliage. So had they gone into active operations, this OB would have been totally invisible from the outside. This area here is actually the secondary chamber where they kept their cooking stoves, their stores and their chemical toilet. The door that you can see here was actually the door into the escape tunnel, which runs through that indentation along the ground into the disused quarry over there. I'll now let Alan Hollindale of Jonah Patrol describe the inside of this bunker.
It's a chamber about 12 feet by 10, I suppose. And on this side were bunks for 6 chaps. In the centre was a table. We had stoves of various types reputed to be able to cure the condensation problem, but they never did. There was a cooking stove, of course. What we did in the end was to get a tree which was hollow, an old trunk, so that put over the vent, it did carry the fumes up fairly high. And although if you were cooking bacon and eggs in here, of course you might smell them outside, so we had to be very careful. And if we had to go into active operations, I think cooking would have to be kept down to a minimum, mainly boiled water, I should think.
Patrols were provided with a selection of the latest weapons, including a pistol, Sten or Thompson submachine gun, Fairbairn Sykes commando knives, quantities of plastic explosive, incendiary devices, and food to last for around 2 weeks. It was not expected that they would survive for much longer. Members anticipated being shot if they were captured, and were expected to shoot themselves first rather than be taken alive. Auxiliaries were issued with a buff-coloured book called The Countryman's Diary 1939. It was designed to sit innocently on a bookshelf, disguised as a seed and fertiliser catalogue. The true contents of the book were almost literally explosive. The manual gave instructions on how to blow up railway lines, bridges and petrol dumps. The combat units were the operational patrols, but these were supported by the Special Duties section, made up from the local civilian population. This group acted as the spotters for the operational teams. In addition, a signal structure linked the isolated cells into a national network that could act together on behalf of a British government in exile and its representatives still in the British Isles. Nearby to the operational base in Langstone, Sally shows us around a Special Duties radio bunker.
We're coming up now to the Special Duties Section bunker, which is situated a very short space away from Jonah Patrol's operational base. Jonah Patrol actually knew that the Special Duties Section bunker was here, but the Special Duties people in here didn't know that Jonah Patrol's operational base was up there. Let's have a look inside. This was a Special Duties Section bunker. As you can see, it's a similar construction to an operational base. 4 men would have been stationed in here, led by Arthur Alsop of Lankstone Farm, and their mission in here was to collect all the intelligence from the dead letter drops and transmit that information by a radio that was situated in this bunker here, and that was transmitted to the control station that was on the Branch Mountain in Abergavenny. It was transmitted using a quench system, which was basically plain language. It wasn't in code of any sort. So there would be 4 men in here, probably working 2 at a time. The antennae that the Special Duty Section used to transmit their radio messages were actually embedded in a tree like this. And until recently, it was still here. It's only recently that it sort of disintegrated and disappeared. The range that the antennae could transmit was approximately 30 miles.
The auxiliary units were kept operational long after the immediate Nazi threat had passed and were stood down in 1944. Many AUX members joined the Special Air Service regiments, which were recruiting hard in readiness for their role during the forthcoming invasion. The only recognition the auxiliaries ever received was a stand-down letter signed by Colonel F.W.R. Douglas, commander of the auxiliary units.
One wonders whether, in 14 days given to us, we could really have been very effective. I think we could have done some damage. We might have made him pause to think that there perhaps is a bigger resistance organisation than there actually was. It might have made him a little more careful and slowed him down a bit.
Although Jonah and the Welsh patrols were never called upon, their unrewarded, secret and silent dedication to the war effort will never be forgotten.